Welcome to Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk. And this, my friends, is the Thunder's Internet's most passionate wine program. And as you can see, the whole one bottle, this whole week thing, didn't last very long because we have a lovely visitor from up north. I am extremely excited about this episode because I've talked about Okanagan wines at length in a lot of keynotes and wine events I've done, but because of the difficulty of getting them here in the New Jersey market, because most distributors don't carry them, and because really I feel like they've been unprogressive about seeing me talk about it and send me a couple samples like all these other crazy places in the world, we have not done a show of a full-out Okanagan episode, and that is what my guest Reese here has helped me accomplish. Reese, thanks for being on the Thunder Show, man.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Why don't you tell the Vaynerchuks how you ended up here and what you do? Let's start with that.
Well, just I'm a wine educator and writer and consultant in the Okanagan and nearby, and just watch the show. It's a great little show that you do. So
how did you first find it? How long ago was it?
A year or so, yeah, okay. Probably a year and a bit ago, yeah. And
okay.
Just thought, hey, it'd be an interesting way to get you to try some of the Canadian wines, and a lot of them haven't been sent out to the US and distributed very far, like you said. Mostly, it's difficult, they find, to get into the US. Plus, they don't have much wine. So, but I thought, hey, you might want to try some, and that's so I sent you an email, and you said love to. So
I was pumped.
Here we are. Yeah.
It's my belief, or my kind of on the outskirts looking in belief, that the wines do fairly well within the market, and it's almost like insulary, almost like the Swiss white wines, right?
Yeah, they never see them,
because they do so well in the market, and people are just not that. I mean, if you sell out all the time, you're not that ambitious to figure out what's going on.
Yeah,
is that true? Am I right about that?
I think,
at some level?
Pretty much hit the nail on the head.
Do you think that's the overriding kind of?
I think so. Yeah, like most of them sell out. They haven't even really gone across Canada yet. Let alone into the
it's just there, right?
Yeah, it's there, and maybe a little bit into Alberta, but most of it's sold in BC, and so, but that's changing. That we've been seeing like 1,000 acres a year planted for about the last 3 years, so it's up to like a bit over 9,000 acres. So there's going to be more wine, right, in the next few years, and
now they got to figure it out.
Yeah, we have to start drinking a lot more up there, or else maybe look into other markets.
I mean, to me, I've been lucky enough through the last couple years to taste a lot of Okanagan wines in different scenarios, wine festivals, nerd. When the wine nerds go into caves and we drink, don't tell them. Like that whole stuff. So I've been able to taste a lot of them, and I've been so massively impressed with the quality. I really do believe, along with Portugal, and Portugal's actually much bigger, along with probably Baja, California, Mexico, are probably the two next really emerging to that next tier of excitement. I think that there's a very substantial chance that the wines of Okanagan are going to be major league in the next 5 years.
Yeah, well, they've done pretty well internationally. People like to enter them into the big competitions in London and San Francisco, whatever, and they show up pretty well. They've won some pretty good awards. And
how did you get into wine?
I got into wine through being passionate about food, and and then if you learn a lot about food, then you have to have wine with it, and then got really into wine, and then kind of left the food
like
thing
drinking
behind.
and getting like unconscious? Or
well,
just,
that happened a couple of times along the way, but no, just intrigued by the flavors and the aromas, and I actually, remember that first the first, everyone kind of has that first wine where something clicked, and it was a Chardonnay, and it was a buttery texture, right? And, you learn the malolactic fermentation. Sure. Anyway, trying that and someone pointing it out and actually tasting it, and then
okay, so
I can taste that. Yeah, and then bang, and then you're off, and so. Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
In Australia.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I picked up the accent, so I'm trying to pry into the.
It's a strange mix now.
So. How long did you live there?
I've lived there till I've been 11 years in Canada, so 20 odd years in Australia.
Right, and not into wine there at all.
I did work in wine retail actually there for about 4 or 5 years. So, but I was, I was learning a bit, I guess, but I wasn't really passionate about it.
You were stocking and doing all that
exactly.
bull crap.
Yeah.
All the things we had to do.
Yeah, you got to do it, right? But,
all right, so awesome. Now, before we get into the wines, is there one last kind of? Do you want to give some sort of, overview of what? A lot of Vaynerchuks out there, because you're a much stronger expert in this area than I am, on what people should know about the Okanagan. Is there anything that stands out to you?
Yeah, one of the first things, it's a beautiful area. Like, have you been up there? Or
I've not.
You haven't? You'll have to come up one time.
I will.
Show you around. But it's a really beautiful area. he will. We'll make it happen. There's lakes, and then the vineyards sort of rolling into the lakes on the benches, and it's
everyone's
fairly
beautiful with
yeah,
wine.
that's true.
So
Yeah,
what else?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of
such a
experimenting with varieties still. You still see, like a whole range of like 60 different vinifera varieties planted, and so they're still sort of playing around a bit to find the best things. It's starting to emerge, though. It was, I guess, about in the mid '90s, a lot of the vineyards were planted. So only now are they starting to get that little bit of age, and the quality's getting up there, and so
is for me the product that's really stood out have been the Pinot Noirs.
Yeah.
When I've come across, the Pinots have been, as a matter of fact, the Quailsgate, I had an older vintage, and I mean, they seem to be really having a lot of potential Pinot.
Yeah, I think so. Pinot for sure. One Chardonnay's great, but the Pinot Noir. People are passionate, like everywhere else. They'll do everything they can, and the Quailsgate winemaker, he was at Atarangi in New Zealand.
Well.
He's kind of I think he spent 10 years in the wine business in New Zealand, and came back to work at Quailsgate because they've got a good Pinot program, and then it's sort of there's a lot of people trying hard with that, and I think they'll get even better in the next few years. So,
do you feel like there's an underlining belief in the area that it is Burgundian-like because Chard and Pinot have done so well, or because Riesling has also done well? That there's not as much of Central Tago, right? They love to talk about we're Burgundy, or Russian River and Anderson Valley in California. They like to talk about we're kind of like Burgundy. We feel like. Do you feel it has that kind of sense?
I don't think so. No, I don't think they.
You haven't seen people say that kind of thing.
No, they're more looking at kind of the new world kind of styles, and for Pinot Noir, not quite as soft and the softer, more complex, lighter versions like Burgundy, but they're going for a little more structure and tannin and that kind of thing. So I think they're aiming, probably more New World Pinot.
Let's get into the first wine. Christopher Tantalus, 2007 Riesling. This wine rolls in around $23 US, which is an awful number.
Canadian dollars, actually.
Canadian, thank you very much. Canadian dollar. What is the currency these days? Are we close to 1-to-1? Or
No, you guys are worth quite a bit more again.
Oh, we're back?
Yeah, so I think about 20% or something.
Okay, cool.
Something I haven't.
All right, so closer to like 18 bones. Now, again, what about when people from the U.S. go over and buy these wines? Can they bring them back into? It depends on their state. Do you
you guys are lucky. You bring them back into the U.S. and you pay, $4, $5, $6 a gallon.
You guys on the flip side.
Oh, we pay 110% of the retail
because there's a monopoly.
Price. Yeah, and that's
so
terrible.
23 Canadian bones. It's kind of fun to say. Great package. Nice little Riesling. I've had some experience with the Okanagan Rieslings. I've always found them to be a little bit pricier than I'd like them for how developed they are in comparison to the competition with the Alsace and maybe, let's say, even Margaret River, Eden Valley, how have you been responsive to them?
Yeah, the price is always a thing. It's very expensive to make wine in BC. The land is like almost Napa-like prices.
Because is there
crazy.
A British Columbian wine mafia that skims off like 20%? Is that why is it hard to make money?
No, it's just the...
I'm just kidding.
That's me, yeah.
You've
exposed me, yeah.
Finally. That's how you can afford all these flights around the world.
Yeah.
Is it just because, labor costs and there's just not as many, it's always like when all the ships rise, like, obviously in 5 years it'll be less because there'll be more wineries around, more people in the business.
Yeah, I think so, but there's limited land that's good, and it's also a very desirable place to live for Canadians. So
period, outside of that.
Yeah, and so they come in, like the people who come in have a lot of money, and it's lifted the land values up to, so just to...
That's what's going on in Idaho in America.
Is that right
as well,
too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So probably the same kind of thing, right? And so it's just you're starting with an expensive base, and then the labor's expensive, and you're always, it's a cool climate, right? So you always, if you have a spring frost or something, the crop's gone down, and
it's a tough place to play.
Yeah.
All right.
But these wines, I think I tried to pick ones that were good value.
Let's give it a whirl. 12.4 alcohol content. Let's give it a snippy sniff.
Yeah.
You like giving snippy sniffs, or you
certainly do? Yeah.
Pretty tropical. I get a nice hint of pineapple on the nose, and then almost like that classic burnt rubber Riesling petrol-y kind of thing going on. You picking up anything else on the nose?
Yeah, some of that nice kind of baked pear almost, a bit of spice too.
Yeah, there is kind of like a cinnamon sagey kind of thing going on. That's kind of neat. It's a good nose. Let's give it a whirl. I'd be remiss not to welcome my new head coach, Rex Ryan. Mott, I don't know if you follow American football.
Not so much anymore,
So
unfortunately.
just
Yeah, it's
giving you
okay.
half
Go
a
ahead.
second.
Go
Appreciate
ahead.
it.
Yeah.
The man's name is Rex. I mean, even if we lose, you got to feel a little bit good about that. And he had a great press conference today and basically said we're just going to crush everybody's faces, blitz and kill and crush. Which probably means we're going to get killed next year by everybody throwing deep balls on us. But a new era has begun, and of course, I'm always supporting my coach. It's always tough to be the top dog. So, Rex Ryan, welcome. And I hope I see you around, and we'll drink some vino. Wonder if he's a wine guy. We'll figure it out. Anyway, back to this wine. Yeah, I gotta tell you, I like this wine. Mm-hmm. It's got a really, it's very appley.
Yeah, yeah.
Very. I mean, it's like somebody played dodgeball with apples, and you caught like 3 to the face.
Yes.
You know, it just completely takes over. There's also high acid, which I always appreciate.
Yeah, it's very crisp. It's a bit controversial in that sense that, you know, some people like sweet, soft Riesling.
Yep.
Other people like the really intense, racy
Where are you
mineral. I'm
Yeah,
in
me
this
too.
camp.
I mean,
I love it.
I want to feel like the Riesling whipped out a switchblade
Yeah.
and cut my tongue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Are you like that?
I like that, yeah. And the minerality. I love
The
that
minerality of this wine is very strong. I mean, this is really your classic, you know, we've said it before on the Thunder Show, get apples, get rocks, make a salad out of them, eat it. That's what this is like. The minerality of the stony, kind of bluestone component, plus the heavy dosage of apple puree, like crushed apples, Granny Smith, Red Delicious. I mean, there's a lot of different kind of like levels of apple in this wine. This is a pretty good Riesling. I like this quite a bit.
Yeah. Actually, one of your previous guests, Jancis Robinson, when she was out in BC a few years ago, an earlier vintage of this, she really raved about it too, this wine.
You know,
I think it was 05 maybe, yeah.
Well, as we all know, she's a lovely lady and bright as a sun. And so I like that, bright as a sun. I don't know where I was going with that. To me, it's a very big time effort, a tremendous start to the Okanagan show. For me, on my palate, this wine scores about 90 points. I think it's a good play. It's a good value. I'll be honest with you, I'd love to really sit down and even play with this wine a little bit more. It's a tremendous start. I think this is very good. Yeah, let's
Excellent.
move on.
I'm glad you enjoy it.
We may be drinking that after the show a little bit.
Yeah.
Just kind of fooling around. All right, let's move into the next wine. We're doing Chardonnay, and so what? You know, to me, I'm a little caught off guard. I did feel like there was a little of that Burgundy play because I really, a lot of people when they talk about Okanagan, people are like Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir.
They do
and so
both
I just
do
assumed.
well, so yeah.
I just assumed, but I assumed wrong, and you know what happens, Matt, when you assume wrong. So this is, I'm excited we're doing a Chardonnay because I've had some pretty good ones. This is Road 13, one I'm not familiar with. Great package, 2007 Chardonnay.
It's a relaunch. It used to be called Golden Mile Cellars, and they relaunched as Road 13.
I see,
Yeah,
okay.
quite long established, but yeah.
Michael Bartier is the winemaker.
Yes.
Yes, I'm actually read some stuff about him. $20 US.
He's the Chardonnay man in.
Yeah, he's the dude.
Yeah,
huh?
makes excellent Chardonnay all the time. So
So let's see what's going on here. 20 bones, which is fair price point for Chardonnay.
Canadian again.
Canadian, thank you very much.
I know,
you're
I'm
on
traveling
point.
here.
No,
I'm
you're on
paying,
point.
paying everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good for a little while, but you guys,
we
you
were
guys
even.
went,
Yeah,
and
I
even
think we
you
went
were
ahead,
even. You were, yeah. I remember all the headlines that day on the internet.
I should have come down then.
Yes, I screwed you up probably saying got to get through the holidays.
No, that's
all right. Let's give this a snippy snip. It's a little lighter than maybe people are. I mean, it's fine, but it's a hair lighter than maybe the golden Chardonnay that a lot of people get out of other parts of the world. But it's almost got like more like a Macon color. Let's give it a snippy snip. I mean, this is really Chardonnay. I mean, I definitely get the golden, pear. I definitely get a little oak coming through on this.
Yep, quite a bit of oak, yeah.
I wouldn't say it's starting. It's getting a little oak monster.
Yeah.
I mean, it's coming through.
Yeah, it's quite.
Does
a lot
that bother
of oak.
you?
No, I like a bit of oak in Chardonnay. I think
You feel like that's
good oak. Good oak with that adds that spice and nuttiness, and yeah, I like it. I think in Chardonnay it's some wines that can kill the wine, but it's almost part of Chardonnay. You know what I mean? Like
it's what you
almost
think
part of
about.
it. Yeah, and
And do you know Pam and Mick?
yeah,
Nice people?
They're nice people. Yeah.
Well, that's
A lot of fun, yeah.
We'll give them an extra point here on the show just for being nice.
Being nice,
I
okay.
like
Good.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
Let's give it a whirl.
Got a bit of that minerality coming in this one too.
I think this is where I get a little not nice.
Okay.
Unfortunately for me, for my palate. To me, it's got the classic, oak. I like the viscosity. I like the weight. I do find the mid palate to be a little hollow. I was kind of looking for what was going on there. Not so much. It's an oak-driven Chardonnay. Here's my problem. There's a lot of Chardonnay that I've drank from California at $8 to $12 that tastes like this.
Yeah.
And that's my problem.
Yeah, you can get some pretty good Chardonnay for pretty good value. Right? You can do it. Yeah.
I mean, think about how many Australian Chardonnays can compete with this on this style for half the price.
Yeah, probably.
A lot. And so, for my palate, for me, this is, classic golden apple, pear, all the classic things you look for Chardonnay. I like that it's not too hot at room temperature. It's doing a good job with that. Good kudos to Road 13 on that. A little hollow in the mid palate for me. Good weight. I like the viscosity. The flavors are just very basic.
Classic Chardonnay.
Classic.
Yeah,
you know what?
Classic Chardonnay.
I'm trying to diss it, so I say basic, and you say no, but you're right.
No,
you're right.
It
is that classic basic flavor profile. The problem is that's being done around the world in so many places, and in my mind, I'm saying to myself, to the Vaynerchuks, I've a huge sense of responsibility when I score it because price is such a factor for me in value. It's not in the way I score it, but but I feel like there's $7-8 Argentinian Chardonnay I've tasted that's like this. To me, this is a classic 85, 86 point Chardonnay. And for me, there's so many wines out there that they can buy for, $6, $7, $8, $12 for sure. If I'm being a little tough on that price, $12 for sure. And so that's kind of what I feel about the Road 13. Are you a big fan of this? Let me ask you a question. Reese, are you exposed to a lot of international wines? Do you make it a big mesh? Is that a big factor for you, right?
Yeah, I drink a lot of international wines.
And so which Chardonnay, where are the places that you enjoy it from?
Well, I love white Burgundy, right? And, this is... one thing I find in Okanagan Chardonnay that you get that reminds me of Burgundy, like you were saying, again on that Burgundy thing before, is the really good lemon and the really good minerality on the finish. Do you find it on the finish?
I do feel it has it there, and I actually feel like you're right. There is a lot of lemon in this wine as well. I think some of those Californian, Australian ones that are good Chardonnay at that price, they often don't have that lemon, that minerality. They're more fat and so I like the freshness on the end of this wine, and that's why I like it. I do like the minerality on the back end, but this would never confuse me for being from the Mekong. I would never think that this is a Chablis.
No.
Never. In a blind tasting, I would never. My intuition, I would definitely not say Okanagan because I don't have enough experience and I'm not that pimp. But I definitely would, and I wouldn't. What I would think to myself is this a cooler climate, New World? I would be like, okay, maybe this is like from some part of California that I haven't experienced a whole lot.
A cool, very cool
area.
What I mean? Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It falls somewhere. It's unique though. It's not Burgundy. It's not
State.
California. Yeah, Washington. Maybe,
I would maybe think that this is a single vineyard Chateau Saint Michelle product, or this reminds me even a little bit of like Powers in Washington State, which is a $12 place. So I just would never ever think that minerality in the back end constituted it to be from Burgundy, and I feel like the oak is a little overdone here. I'm very sensitive to oak.
No,
again,
I'm
everybody has their own palate. I wouldn't say it's the oak monster, which I'm very scared of, like frightening.
Yeah, you can taste other stuff still, but there is oak, and
you can taste some other stuff, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's super complex either. And dropping 20 Canadian, comparatively as a drink to the Riesling, it doesn't fall into my sweet hand. But how about for you? Between those two whites, what did you prefer?
I like them both. The Tantalus Riesling is excellent, right? It's super intense, and again with Chardonnay, it sort of comes to that. And again, it comes so often to oak with Chardonnay, doesn't it? You like it, you don't like it, And
the oak is not overbearing. I just think and again, listen, you came all the way down here, so you're going to pick things that you believe in. So I'm sure you probably and again. It doesn't offend me enough. The funny part is I think a crap load of the viewership out there will like it just fine. One, it sucks that you won't be able to find it, but we have a lot of Canadian viewers, so this should be a lot of fun. But okay, let's move on.
Excellent.
Dying to try this. This is the Quails Gate 2006 Pinot Noir, 25 U.S. bones.
Canadian again, yeah.
Canadian bones. Dude, I'm so impressed. You're killing it.
Okay.
That's going to be the funny part of this show. Canadian.
So Pinot is something that, it's almost the opposite of Chardonnay, right? Chardonnay, you can always get good value Chardonnay everywhere. Pinot Noir, you can almost never find lots of good Pinot Noir, right? It's tough.
Light in color, a little bit lighter than even, I would say, most Pinots. Just a hair light.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah. I think, there was a bit of a fascination there with trying to
Darken it up.
make them dark and
I'm
throwing
glad
in a bit of,
Petite
some
Syrah.
dark juice or something, but they've kind of given up on that and
Good.
they're getting more pure, I
Good.
guess you could
Good
say.
for them.
Yeah.
Well, let's give it. What do you know about Quail's Gate?
They're one of the older wineries. I think we're up to like 150 something wineries in BC
amazing.
now, and then lots of small ones, obviously. And but these guys have been around for a long time. They were, probably one of the first 10 or 15 wineries in the valley.
Yeah, it's one of the first names I ever
Yeah,
even way back. God, you can smell so much bacon on this nose. It's absurd.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
My God, this smells absolutely like the only thing you have in your house is bacon, and you've been cooking it for the last 47 years. I mean, this is absolutely bacon fat driven on the nose, which is gorgeous.
Do you like to do that? That aromatherapy, you just fry up some bacon and leave it in the kitchen for
do
no
it.
reason,
I
just for the smell,
And I'd eat it as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
love
you always
bacon?
end up eating it. I love it, yeah.
It's like
bit
the
of
best,
garlic,
right?
onions in there,
I like the onions, too.
aromatherapy, yeah.
I get a little raspberry on the nose as well. Just a
Yep,
hint
some
on the
red
back
fruit,
end.
Yeah.
You getting anything else?
A little bit of that kind of spice, clove, orange zest as well. Kind of like those clove-studded orange people do at Christmas, and
You know what? That's really good. I can see where you're going with that.
And yeah, it's kind of meaty too, that bacon thing, but also, I don't know,
Like
smoked
gamey,
meat. Yeah,
right?
gamey, yeah.
I mean, just, this is classic Pinot, but the bacon really pops. I mean, like, I was kind of even, like, fooling around as we were talking, and it just kind of
Just
took me...
jumped out. A bit floral too, I think,
There's a hair. There's a little... Maybe a little more limited for me on my nose than other Pinots with the
Yeah.
violets and what have you, but there's a little bit of that going
in
on.
there, yeah. Subtle. But...
Let's give it a whirl. I'm excited to try this. I would say this wine is extremely focused. It feels like, to me, the flavor, everything is happening right here.
Yeah.
Right down the middle.
Right down the middle.
I like that. I feel like it continues with classic Pinot Noir, Burgundian type flavors.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a little bit more lively. It's a little more fresh
Yep.
and young than maybe I expected from what I remember in the past. I like it. I think it's solid. What do you think about this wine?
Yeah, it's again similar kind of flavors, I guess, on the palate.
But it's
And,
classic Pinot Noir.
Yeah, it starts off with that nice silky texture, so I think it's silky early on, and then it gets the tannins kick in a little bit, and dries out a little bit, dusty cocoa, kind of leathery, on the finish. But
I get a cola component on the
cola
back.
too, yeah. I often
the back
find
end.
that in Oregon Pinot as
A
well.
lot.
So yeah,
A lot. I like this. You know what? Actually, now that I just tasted it and kind of like drank, kind of like thought about it a little more. Did you notice I like daydream for a minute? Usually I don't stay quiet that long. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like taking bacon and throwing it into your cherry cola.
yeah.
I get a cola component, but now the cherries are starting to sing to me a
Yeah,
little
the
more.
fruit's coming out. I think opening up a little bit, hey, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I like this wine. This is
Yeah.
neat. It's a good Pinot Noir, fair price point. I'm kind of in that 89 to 91 point range now. I'm trying to figure out where I want to go with it. I'll probably go right down the middle and give my second 90-point score of the Okanagan show, which is really fun for me because finally an area I care about where we're giving good scores, Mott. As you know, we've been getting bashed on that. I think it's a very good play, Pinot Noir. I think it's very solid. It's very... I almost feel like I want to bite it.
It's
chewy.
It wants food with it too, something fatty, something rich and
Like pork. I feel
pork, yeah, pork,
I feel like
quail,
getting
something,
a snout and
yeah,
just biting
yes,
it. You know what I mean?
That's for sure. Why not? Yeah. No, it's got structure and good length. I mean, it's just lingering along on, and all these wines that we've tried are kind of the introductory for each of them. So there's an old vines Riesling, there's a family reserve Pinot Noir, and then there's a black art or something else. Jackpot Chardonnay, I think they have, which is the little more complex and a few more bucks. Sorry, I wanted to bring some decent.
I want to definitely tell you that what stands out to me on this is that it is a lot easier to drink than a lot of good Pinot Noir I've come across lately. Meaning, it's not over the top. It doesn't have that inkiness, probably inducement of Petit Syrah. This is a very easy wine to just drink.
Yeah.
To me, this is a very good Pinot Noir porch wine. Kind of like the old Bourgogne play, right? Like, you go way back and you really study history. A lot of people talked about Bourgogne Rouge just to drink on the porch, and rarely you don't hear that anymore.
No.
This kind of is a throwback to me. This is kind of like a classic, just, I can easily see myself drinking this with one or two other people, polishing up the bottle on the porch, and it happening very easy within a great conversation.
Yeah. Just
Not,
nothing to get in the way.
No,
Yeah.
where I yearn for the food, like you said.
That's the tannins
Like, I wanted
for
this
me,
now.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's an easy drink.
Yeah, it's definitely nice.
Interesting.
It's got that
Good wine.
silkiness. I like that texture.
Let's finish off with this. Jackson Triggs, which we know well. This is what? Sunrock Vineyard 2006 Shiraz, 14.2 alcohol content. That should be interesting. 25 to 30 Canadian.
Something like that, yeah. We didn't have the exact price on this one.
I was just pumped that I remembered Canadian.
You did.
Let's rinse right here. I see the big Vancouver 2010.
Yeah, I guess they're a sponsor of the Olympics, the Vancouver Winter Olympics. So.
Which is definitely going to be, I think, when I make it out to you guys.
Okay.
That's going to be my play.
Well, you can
Tape
come
a
visit
couple
me.
Olympic
I'll
shows.
take you around, yeah.
We'll do that.
So this is kind of from the south end of the valley. So
Okay.
is the Chardonnay actually, but it kind of down near the border with the US here. It's desert. It's hot, dry desert country, and we have 40 plus Celsius days, every summer. So it gets really hot. It's and down in that area you've got the Shiraz and Cabernet Merlot, those varieties planted. As you get north, it's into the Pinots and the Rieslings.
Cooler
and,
with that.
Yeah.
Warmer. Classic.
So that's why one of the reasons there's such a wide range of varieties grown there too is the climates vary quite a lot. So.
There is there's a crap load of pepper on this nose.
It is very peppery, isn't it? Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you know how you can get a pepper headache if you smell pepper for a long enough time? I don't know. Is that such a thing? Like, I've never really confirmed that. Can you get it I don't know. I smell pepper so much I can get a headache from it. It's almost like brain freeze.
I can imagine.
Like that kind of sensation.
Yeah.
I feel like that if you smelled this wine long enough, you can probably induce a headache, which might be a good thing.
Yeah.
Lots of black cherries,
Yeah.
blueberries, a lot of dark fruit.
Yeah, that damson plums, the really sweet dark
Very nice
plums too. Yeah.
A lot of pepper.
A little bit more of that meatiness again, that smoky thing, hey, from the last one.
But very bright. I almost get a Cointreau, like a Drambuie, like an orange peel on this one.
A bit of that, yeah.
Let's give it a whirl. Nice fruit. Solid. I mean, I like the fruit. I think it's very good fruit. I mean, if it is a 25 to 30 Canadian play, I think it's a little bit of an overpriced Shiraz, especially with all the Shiraz that's in the market out there.
It's a lot now, isn't it?
Yeah, and the way that it competes, and even like the Syrah that you can get out of the Rhone Valley, it's bright fruit, but it's not super complex. It's I don't know. I mean, I feel like maybe this is the wine I'm probably the most disappointed with. I mean, for me, the Chard, I kind of know my palate with Chard, so I can understand that. This is kind of meh to me. What do you think? Is it showing different than? I can almost feel from your body language you're not being completely pumped. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, it's nice and rich. I like the texture. I'm just and then that pepperiness comes through nicely on the finish, and yeah, I think it's a good example of BC Shiraz. I think where you get that. It's definitely not like an Australian wine, right? It's more into that Rhone or
it's Crow's
climate.
It's almost it's almost like Crow's Hermitage. With one Australian fellow there.
Yeah.
It's like Crows with a little...
There's a little lean towards that, but a lean towards
I would say
style
80% Crows, 20% Barossa. You know what I mean? Or maybe even 90-10 or
Yeah. No,
85-15. But if that's being said, if this is a good example of BC Okanagan Shiraz at this price point, then I feel like for me, it becomes a very difficult value play. I could just never see myself recommending or getting excited about a Shiraz at $25 to $30 like this. Because it does have the pepper, it does have the texture.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
but the flavors are pretty muted. I mean, it's pretty one-dimensional. Black fruit, for me.
Yeah,
You pick...
It's certainly not, well, it's not the real, like you're saying, it's got that lean to the New World as well, hey, and it's not quite the sort of Cote Rôtie spices and things. So it's more in that, bright, rich fruit, but then a kick of pepper. I don't know. I
it
like it. It's not
pregnant.
hugely complex, but there's some, good intensity, and I always look at usually have intensity of flavor or complexity of flavor. Occasionally you get both.
Sure.
But it's usually kind of one or the other.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I do. I think that's a very valid
and I
point.
think this is
It's a
more
cool
into
way to
the
look at it.
intensity side. And
But on that play, on that side, you're able to replicate that sensation at a very low cost. You're able to get that play 8 to 15.
maybe at less price. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you know what I mean? And that's where I start getting uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's always going to be a tough thing for BC with the pricing, right? Because, maybe once there's more vines and they'll start
That being said, I mean, something like this, I feel very comfortable in the
that's-
$25 Pinot play in the market.
Pinot is like that, right?
And even
yeah.
the Riesling, I mean,
Riesling,
there's not a lot of $20 Rieslings that I've tasted lately that I feel like, oh my God, they're so much better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So, maybe it's just the varietals as well, because there's not a lot of $7 Riesling and $7
Exactly,
Pinot,
right, yeah.
whereas Chardonnay and Shiraz, you do get
there's
that.
so many of them, yeah.
Sure.
So you've really got to stand out if you're one of those two, don't you?
I think so.
stand out,
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm going to score the Shiraz 85 points and give it a pass. I just don't think it's the... Oh, my! Nice. Yeah, absolutely. Forgot about that. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It was fun.
Is there any wrap up to Okanagan? Do we want to maybe link up your email so if anybody comes through?
Sure. I'll give you a couple of for information on my company. I have to throw a plug in is Wine Plus.
What is your company?
I do a wine education mostly. So the Wine and Spirit Education Trust classes, some other training and things like that. So that's wineplus.ca.
Okay, we'll link that up for you.
And for information on BC, a good website is the BC Wine Institute. It's winebc.com. And that's got maps and lists of wineries and everything you
and
want.
Mark can hug and hang out afterwards.
We'll play around on the computer.
And we'll link up your email as well in case you want to get any marriage proposals because we've been getting those.
Fortunately, I'm married.
Oh, I see that. So, very good. Good for you. Me too.
And congratulations on your kid too.
Thank
I've
you.
got
Yes.
2 little ones myself.
Good for you.
It's
congratulations. How old are they?
2 and 4.
Pretty cool.
So it's fun. You're gonna have the exciting few years coming up.
Even wait. Okay, big tradition. You get to ask the Vayner Nation the question of the day. Any question, wine or non-wine related, but they're gonna answer because they like you. I have a feeling. So fire away.
All right. Okay. When are you gonna come and visit us in BC? How's that one?
Good. I was enjoying the wine. You. By the way, Matt. So many people do that, right? When they come from somewhere.
Do they?
Yeah, it's like, but it's a natural thing. No, it's really good. God, I like that Riesling. You, let's score 91 points. Take that, SS. You, with a little bit of me and tremendous people like this, I'm really looking for 2010. We should have a party for the Olympics and we'll do a big thing.
It's practically organized.
We are changing the wine world.